Hi, welcome to Three Crowns Academy. My name is James Pearce. In this module, we're going to be looking at how to read some data into Hi, welcome to Three Crowns Academy. My name is James Pearce. In this module, we'll be looking at how to read some data into Python and how to manipulate that data. The data that we're going to look at is some real data from Amazon product reviews, specifically book reviews. Hi, as I said, this data that we're going to look at today is real data from Amazon book reviews. Now, if you follow along in the IPython notebook or the Jupyter notebook that I've put up here on the screen, you'll find the link and you can download the data yourself. Otherwise, it's in the course materials. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to examine the data. And there's a lot of data, millions and millions and hundreds of millions of reviews of these books. So what I've done is I've extracted the top 100, the first 100 of these, and put them in a file called books_5_head.json. And we can look at this data and then bring it into Jupyter, into Python, and play around with it. Before we do that, I'll have a quick look at what is actually in the data. Here's a sample. This isn't a real sample, this is just one I wrote, but this is the format of the data. So we've got different fields. We've got a rating from 1 to 5 in the overall field. We've got some details about the reviewer that we are not really going to use. Verified, review time, reviewer ID, and reviewer name. We've got some information about the book, which is called as in, I don't know why. There's some other files that we can... There's some other files available on the website that we can use to look up these products. And there's information about the what the person thought of the book in summary, and then there's the review text itself. So the next thing we want to do is read the data into pandas. Pandas is the best way to manipulate data in Python for machine learning and also for general data analysis. Once we've read the data in, we can look at the data using this head method that you will see, which shows us the top few lines of the data. And you can see here the different fields that we were talking about come in. Pandas looks at data in a grid or a table in much the same way as you might see in something like Microsoft Excel. And you can access the data by looking at different columns and rows. And you can see here the review text column speaks to that review. It's just cut off here in the grid so that we can see it. Here's an example review. And I'm not going to read that out to you, but there's plenty of data there. So we can analyze more of the data. We can read the larger gzipped JSON data into pandas in chunks. And because there's a lot of data, we're only going to read in 2 million reviews. Only 2 million. And we do it in batches of 500 and 1,000, so it doesn't take too long. Now, I've also got a version of this data where I've already done that for you, so you can read that data in as well by looking at the appropriate Jupyter notebook. I think it's got a slightly different name, but that's the one to look at. Now, what we need to do, we need to have a definition of positive and negative sentiment, and in our case, we're also going to have neutral. So what we're going to do to give us the truth of sentiment is have a look at the user's rating in the overall field, and we're going to say if there were 1 to 2 stars, that's a negative review. If there were 3 stars, that's a neutral review. And if there were 4 to 5 stars, well, that's a positive review. And we can have a look at a plot of these, and you can see how to do this in the in the notebook, but here's one that I've done for you. And this 1E6 means a big number, 1 million. And we can see here the difference between the positive, neutral, and negative reviews. So you can see overwhelmingly there is a preference towards positive reviews on these Amazon book data. So for all of you who look at book data or even buy books on Amazon, it's worth knowing that we've got a bias, overwhelming bias to positive reviews. We also need to keep this in mind when we are building our classifier, that most of the things we look at will be positive, so we need to do something different if we want to be sure that we're going to be accurate. The final thing that we will do in the notebook is split the data. And the reason we do that is because it's possible to get bias into what we're doing if we keep looking at the same sample of data. So we use one sample of data that we call the training sample to build our classifier, to explore and to train our classifiers. And then we use another split of data, and we use this to see how good we are, how accurate we are, how good our predictions of sentiment are. And we pick these two splits at random. So you'll see how to do that in the notebook. So I invite you to work through the notebook and explore the data in more detail using pandas. And here's a challenge for you. Find out which columns of the training data may be associated with positive sentiment. Now, in our next module, we'll start transforming the text of the review into a numeric format ready for calculating sentiment. Thank you for learning with 3 Crowns Academy.